Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. We have another great show for you tonight. Standing by the wings, Mr. John Cornett. Hey, John.
Hey, Bob.
Next to me is Mr. Casper Leach. Hey, Casper. Anyway, we got to say a shout out to a couple members of our family. Melody Silverwolf, longtime activist in our community and person who worked with me at the THCF medical clinics for over a decade, passed away this afternoon, and we've just got to encourage blessings and prayers for her. And a volunteer here at our TV show, Rod, has yesterday had a massive heart attack, and so he's in the hospital. And Dana, who works in our control room, is recuperating from open heart surgery, and so we just have to say a shout out to those people. We have our hip news here in just a second, and before that, as always, we're bringing on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Our first story tonight is from our nation's capital. Attorney General Eric Holder on Tuesday announced that Michelle Leinhart, the administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, or DEA, is resigning. Later, they changed that and said she's retiring. Leinhart's been criticized by medical cannabis advocates, such as myself here in this news segment, as well as members of Congress, for her unwillingness to adhere to the Obama administration's stated policies on medical cannabis. Under Leinhart, the DEA led increased raids against medical cannabis dispensaries and cultivators in defiance of guidance from the Department of Justice, steering them away from cases that targeted state legal medical cannabis patients. The legacy of Leinhart includes opposing sentencing guidelines reforms embraced by the Obama administration and other law enforcement agencies working to maintain cannabis's Schedule I status, and claiming that rising drug war violence in Mexico was a sign of success. During a notable congressional oversight hearing in 2012, Leinhart refused to state that she thought crack or heroin were more dangerous than cannabis. When President Obama stated in a 2014 New York Times interview that he felt cannabis was no more dangerous than alcohol, Leinhart defiantly spoke out against the president. Oregon's Representative Earl Blumenauer, right here from River City, said, quote, "Following the official resignation of Ms. Leinhart as head of the Drug Enforcement Administration, I encourage the president to use this as an opportunity to fill this important role with someone who understands the outdated federal approach to marijuana isn't working. The American public has moved on. Most now feel marijuana should be legalized. Four states and the District of Columbia have legalized the adult use of marijuana, and more than 2/3 of Americans live in the state that has legalized some form of medical marijuana." Congressman Blumenauer went on, "The president himself has said we have bigger fish to fry than going after state legal marijuana users. I would urge him to put in place a DEA administrator who will reflect his administration's position and can be a partner in creating a more workable system of marijuana laws." End quote. Thanks, Representative Earl Blumenauer, for representing us here in Portland very well. Across the river in Washington State, things aren't so good. Earlier today, Washington Governor Jay Inslee signed into law regulations which essentially eliminate medical marijuana dispensaries in the state, along with the medical cannabis system as it's been known there since voters approved it back in 1998. Purportedly an overhaul measure to subject medicinal cannabis to the licensing, testing, inspections, and tax requirements of the recreational side. The bill's actual intent and effect is to get rid of the pesky medical marijuana community, which has consistently outperformed the recreational I-502 cannabis outlets with better products at lower prices. Patients who've for years enjoyed the availability of medical marijuana dispensaries where employees themselves were also facing medical challenges and had bothered to inform themselves about medicinal applications of cannabis will now be forced into the recreational market, where the focus isn't on medicine, and in fact where I-502 store employees are forbidden by law from even mentioning the medical applications of marijuana. Plant counts for patients under the new Washington law in one fell swoop are being reduced from 15 to 6. The dried marijuana limits are similarly being slashed from 24 ounces to 3 ounces per patient. Ironically, the 15 plants 24-ounce limits were themselves compromises reached a few years ago when the best scientific studies available showed that the appropriate limits would be 71 ounces and 99 plants. Washington's Governor Inslee's light item vetoed a few parts of the bill, but kept most of it, including authority for collectives of up to 4 patients to form growing cooperatives of up to 60 plants. I-502 business owners had pressured the legislature to crack down on medical marijuana dispensaries, which they characterize as dangerous and unregulated. The main problem, however, seemed to be that the medical shops were underpricing the recreational stores, often with superior quality cannabis. Rather than upping their own game, in other words, the I-502 store owners chose to have the competition outlawed. Patients will now face tighter restrictions on medical authorizations and marijuana possession. Arrest protection is included only if the patient agree to register in a state database. No other group of patients using any other medicine have required such a requirement. Since local municipalities have the power to ban recreational marijuana outlets, which will be the only game in town once the last medical cannabis dispensaries are shut down by the deadline of July 2nd, 2016, some areas of the state will be deserts, lacking any safe and legal access to marijuana for patients or other customers. The measure renames the Washington State Liquor Control Board to the Liquor and Cannabis Board. Cities and counties will now be allowed to reduce to 100 feet, a 1,000-foot buffer zone where cannabis businesses are now prohibited around parks, libraries, and daycare facilities. But the buffer zones around schools and playgrounds remains 1,000 feet in Washington State. Speaking on the condition of anonymity, one Tacoma medical marijuana dispensary owner said he planned to run at full tilt until the deadline comes next year. He said then, quote, "I'm going to retire," end quote. He told us here at Hemp News. Anyway, back home here in Oregon, the Oregon State Police have requested a budget of $3.9 million in an increase to go after marijuana users like us. The Oregon State Police want the money for the 2015-2016 years to pay for 11 full-time troopers and detectives to go after cannabis. Since that is in addition to the $1.3 million the state police already requested for a legal marijuana enforcement budget earlier this year, one can't help but ask oneself, where are the savings in marijuana enforcement that were supposed to come with legalization? The state police have declined comment. The Oregon State Police request comes after a proposal by the Oregon Liquor Control Commission putting in charge of implementing cannabis legalization to create peace officers to patrol legal cannabis, investigate black market sales, enforce cannabis taxes, and stop sales to minors. The OLCC is aware of the state police request and expects the two agencies will work together on enforcing the state's marijuana laws, claimed Liquor Control spokesman Tom Towsley. He said, quote, "We can see the need to have somebody from the state police here in the OLCC to handle the dispatch," referring to an officer who could field calls from state troopers checking the licenses of people found with large quantities of marijuana. The Oregon legislature is already considering a possible $10.5 million two-year budget for the OLCC's legal cannabis program. They'd have to approve the state police request for $5 million more. Oregon State Representative Peter Buckley, an Ashland Democrat who co-chairs the House Ways and Means Committee and a longtime supporter of marijuana legalization, said he hasn't yet discussed the request with the state police. Back across the nation in Washington, D.C., the U.S. Representative Dana Rohrabacher from California, a Republican, and 5 Republican co-sponsors on Tuesday introduced legislation in Congress that would modify the Federal Controlled Substances Act so that anyone acting in compliance with a state marijuana law would be immune from federal prosecution. The Respect State Marijuana Laws Act of 2015 would apply to all marijuana-related activities, medical and non-medical, in the states in which they're authorized. Republican co-sponsors of the reintroduced 2015 bill include Justin Amish of Michigan, Duncan Hunter of California, Thomas Massey of Kentucky, Tom McClintock, and Don Young, both of Alaska. Democratic co-sponsors include Representative Earl Blumenauer, Steve Cohen of Tennessee, Dinah Titus, Janice Schwowski, Jared Paulus, and Mark Pocan. 4 states have adopted laws regulating marijuana similarly to alcohol: Alaska, Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. 23 states, the District of Columbia, and the U.S. Territory of Guam have adopted laws allowing the use of marijuana for medical purposes. 2 out of 3 Americans, or 67%, think Congress should pass a bill to make states that tightly regulate marijuana a safe haven from federal prosecution, according to a report released in January by Third Way, a centrist think tank. Unlike other bills that address only some aspects of the conflict between state and federal marijuana laws, this bill resolves the issue entirely by letting states determine their own policies. It's the strongest federal legislation introduced to date, and it's the bill most likely to pass in a Republican-controlled Congress. Nearly every GOP presidential contender has said marijuana policy should be a state issue, not a federal one, essentially endorsing this bill. National polls are repeatedly finding that a majority of Americans understand that marijuana is less harmful than alcohol and should be treated that way. Marijuana is already legal in our 4 states, and at least 5 more are expected to join them within the next 2 years. Marijuana prohibition is one of the most disastrous public policy failures of the last 50 years. It's time for Congress to give states the room they need to pursue more rational alternatives like regulating and taxing marijuana. There are few more principles more fundamental to the Republican Party than state rights. Allowing states to decide their own marijuana policy both fits the party ideology and makes much more sense than the laws currently on the books. But until Congress decides to change the law, all assurances of non-intervention from the federal government may prove meaningless. Out of our last story, medical one, out of Denver, Colorado, the administration of oral cannabis extracts is associated with the mitigation of seizures in adolescents with epilepsy, according to clinical data published this month in the journal Epilepsy and Behavior. Researchers from the Colorado Children's Hospital in Denver performed a retrospective chart review of 75 children who'd been provided with cannabis extracts. The authors reported that 57% of the subjects showed some level of improvement in seizure control, while 33% reported a greater than 50% reduction in seizure frequency. The researchers also reported improved behavior and alertness in 1/3 of the subjects and improved motor skills in 10% of the treated patients. Adverse events were reported in 44% of the subjects, 13% of which reported increased seizure activity. Overall, however, the authors concluded that the extracts were well tolerated by children. Separate clinical trial results publicized last week at the 67th annual meeting of the American Academy of Neurology reported that the administration of a proprietary form of CBD, or cannabidiol, extracts decreased seizure frequency by 54% over a 12-week period in children with treatment-resistant epilepsy. Survey data compiled by Stanford University in 2013 reported that the administration of cannabidiol-enriched cannabis decreased seizures in 16 of 19 patients with pediatric epilepsy. Last month, the Epilepsy Foundation of America enacted a resolution in support of the rights of patients and families living with seizures and epilepsy to access physician-directed care, including medical marijuana. This study, Parental Reporting of Response to Oral Cannabis Extracts for Treatment of Refractory Epilepsy, appears in Epilepsy and Behavior this month. That's the end of our hemp news segment for tonight. We're jumping over to Mr. John Cornett. Welcome back, John.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. This hits very close to home, your last story there. But for the grace of God and the God plant, I'm able to stand before you here and perform tonight because I was having multiple seizures and it was a mess. And then I started eating the plant, and then I ultimately started eating the oil, and I'm grateful. It's saving my life, and I'm sure it would save and I wonder if that child, forgive me for saying, if he had had THC with that CBDs, if they had done better. Just my thoughts, because I think the THC is just as important, easily is just as important as the CBDs. Thank you very much. I would like to dedicate this little ditty to Brother Rod, our cameraman, who can't be with us here tonight. He's in the hospital. Goes out to he and his wife Vicky, and Melody, of course, one of our own who just passed away, and Janice. And God bless you all. Please send out your prayers to our folks.
Well, welcome back, Casper.
Thank you.
And welcome, viewers. If you have a question for us tonight, you can give us a call at 503-288-4442. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour. So just give us a call at 503-288-4442.
I'm confused, Paul. When there was a reason to have drug enforcement officers, then they wanted a whole lot of money. And now that it's legal in the state and to have medical marijuana and recreational's coming around the corner, social use, right?
It's here.
We don't need the law enforcement, but now they want a whole bunch more money.
They always have an excuse for more money.
Is it me, or are they like the mafia?
They're kind of that way. They're wanting some protection money. I mean, I don't know if the mafia is the right analogy. They're like most bureaucrats in that they have to.
You're right.
They always want to find a reason to maintain and expand their bureaucratic fiefdom.
And you're right. When I'm in a time of trouble, I would be more inclined to call somebody in the mafia to help me out.
Well, I don't know. I don't know those guys like you do, Casper. But
they have a code.
I think there are a lot of good policemen out there, and I know there are, and I thank them. And I think most police are good, and they're put under a lot of stress sometimes, and we depend on them. If somebody is breaking into my house, I don't think calling the mafia is going to do any good. I sure hope the police. Well, I sure hope the police would help, and they've helped many people and continue to help people. So let's not bash them too much, but they certainly don't need money to come arrest us for using marijuana. If they want to enforce out-of-state trafficking of marijuana, well, that's one thing. Let's license the sale of marijuana interstate, and let's take marijuana off the Controlled Substances Act. It doesn't belong on there. It never did belong on there.
No, that sounds like it
always
also might
lies.
happen soon, right? We're going to have industrial hemp
I don't
in
know
a
about
handful of
soon.
states, right? Is that
Well,
true?
industrial hemp to me is another smokescreen that's just was always meant to detract us. Industrial hemp is actually high cannabinoid cannabis, produces more seed oil and more fiber and more protein than low THC, what they call industrial hemp. And as one of the first people to import hemp paper and fabric into the United States back in the late 1980s, I many times advocated for different types of cannabis, but I've come to realize that high cannabinoid cannabis is many times more productive than low cannabinoid cannabis. And we're going to see studies, and I'm working on some studies. Just met with an OSU, Oregon State University graduate student today, working with the National Hemp Industries Association to carry out a multi-year, multi-location study of high cannabinoid cannabis seed and fiber and cannabinoid production. So we should be able to quantify that hemp seed is several times more productive than any other seed oil crop as a biofuel.
But isn't there soon come a time when like farmers are growing the plant for paper, fiber, and fuel in one state where it's legal to grow hemp, but then they're going to import the plant to a state
No, what I'm
where there's a
saying
mill
is
and
we
it's not
can
legal
take
there?
our high cannabinoid cannabis, my award-winning cannabis strains, all the high cannabinoid cannabis out there, and we can seed it. And then we can harvest those seeds and use that as the most productive biofuel. In fact, here's our hemp flame of freedom, demonstrating how hemp was prohibited to stop it from being used as a fuel. It was the petrochemical, pharmaceutical, military, industrial, transnational, corporate, elite, crony, capitalist ruling class that made up the whole marijuana myth. And it was all about this, hemp fuel and hemp fiber. And we have this hemp flame of freedom right here on this desk every week just to demonstrate that.
Yeah, but won't there come a time, won't there come a time where you're growing the plant, and like in Kentucky, if they have industrial hemp there?
And they'll have that. We have industrial low THC farmers that will be growing hemp in Oregon this year.
And then as an example, if they decide they want to turn it into paper, but the mill they want to turn it into paper at's in Arkansas where you can't have legal industrial hemp.
Well, no, the fiber's legal. You can have hemp fiber. Hemp fiber is legal.
But then does
It's
that
the flowers and the leaves and the viable seeds are marijuana according to law, but the sterile seeds and the fiber are not marijuana according to law.
But does that constitute inter-state?
Interstate commerce, perhaps, but eventually we've got to wipe those laws out. We have a couple callers standing by.
Yay!
Let's go to the phones. Welcome to the phone, callers.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, I can just barely hear you. Get the control room, turn that up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's good
Can you
now.
hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Okay. What I would like to ask is, would you happen to have the locations of some of the shops in the state of Washington? And I have a comment. I'd like to tell you guys thank you for bringing marijuana out of the back alleys where you have to risk your life just for a few joints. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, but I haven't been to those stores because I grow cannabis and I don't need to go to those stores up in Washington State. But they're there. If you go and search on Google on the internet and look for Washington State marijuana stores, you'll find them. They're in Vancouver. There's a city-run one up in Stevenson, Washington, right up by the Bonneville Dam. That's run by the city of Stevenson.
Thank you.
municipal store.
Excuse
And
me.
there's a few commercial ones in the city of Vancouver. So just cross right on over there and you can legally partake right now. And it's legal to bring, it's legal for you to have an ounce in Oregon too. Crossing the river is another thing, but, what you do on your private time is no one else's business, in my opinion.
Thank you for your time.
Ain't
You're
nobody's
very welcome.
business if you do.
That was Peter McWilliams' famous book, and a long time saying before that, of course, but Peter McWilliams wrote a great book about freedom called It Ain't Nobody's Business If You Do. So we got to advocate Peter McWilliams here, who died under the federal boot of the Drug Enforcement Administration and the Los Angeles courts for writing a book about medical marijuana. They arrested him for visiting marijuana stores, and he died with nausea because he couldn't use medical marijuana. He inhaled during a bout of nausea and died in his bathroom. It's a horrible thing.
They have tried in vain to silence the marijuana
They've silenced
movement.
many of us, and many of us have not lived to see this day, but those of us who are here can only thank those people who who worked on this and brought us here. And now that we've achieved what we've achieved, we can't stop. There will always be battles for freedom. There'll always be those who want to take advantage of us and ostracize us or denigrate us for our beliefs, our behavior. But we've got to stand up and tell them that we're right. And marijuana prohibition, this whole horrible stigma that we've faced for all these years for using something that we knew was good for us, we knew made us feel good, we knew didn't have bad side effects. Now we know it actually enhances our life and enhances longevity. But I think we have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello, is that me?
Hello, caller.
Hello?
Hey.
Hi. I just wanted to, on the hearings for Measure 91 in Salem, I just wanted to point out if they have more, support with regard to, growing with seeds, because right now, like with the 4-plant limit, it's basically assuming that, everybody's just only using clones because they don't specify whether it's male or female or how big the size of the plant or anything else. So, and like with one plant,
I cannot really hear what you're saying in here. The sound is down a little bit too low for us to hear that. So hopefully the people out in the air can hear that. I heard something about in Salem. I really couldn't hear the rest of it.
Yeah. Can you hear me now at all, or?
Yeah, it's gotten a little better. I think they're working on it in the control room. I have to tell them somehow.
Okay. I was just trying to say, with the hearings for Measure 91 in Salem, I hope they can have more support as far as, like with the 4-plant limit, they don't specify whether it's male or female or how big they are. So they're basically assuming that everybody's only using just exclusively clones, where if you use seeds, then, then you're looking at, like the plant limit should be for female plants, not, plants of any type. But like with one plant, you can produce, thousands of seeds, and it's more sustainable than trying to use clones and, just having a mother plant continuously vegging,
Yeah, it's not workable. The proposal I had recommended hadn't really set a limit on the amount of plants a person could have. That was Measure 80 in 2012. We revised that to equal the Oregon limit, which is 24 plants and 24 ounces. I thought that's a lot more reasonable. You can see up in Washington, they don't even allow people to grow their own plants. And even with a medical permit, they want to dramatically reduce the number of plants patients can grow. But the best thing we can do right now is lobby our legislature and tell our legislature that we support the bills that will help us and we oppose those that won't, and that we need, it's a little late to start a new bill right now in the legislature here in Oregon, but we have to do that.
Yeah. Well, if they can just revise that 4-plant limit or update it just so it addresses, specifies, like it should be 4 female plants.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. Hopefully you'll be able to buy clones pretty soon. The state has established a tax on clones of $5 per plant. So hopefully you can just, if you want to grow from seed, that's fine too. I think people should be able to breed their own cannabis.
Well, yeah.
You need to be able to breed hundreds of plants.
Yeah, like
But,
you have to have,
we'll get there. We haven't got there yet. We've made a step forward. It's a little taste of freedom, and we have to keep fighting for more.
Yeah, and you have to do seeds, to breed or to get seed oil, any of that stuff.
Well, I think once we prove that hemp can replace petroleum and is by a factor of maybe 3 to 5 times more productive than any other seed oil crop, once we've proven that could change the whole paradigm as the truth finally becomes clear that marijuana prohibition has always been about petroleum and political power and money and the continued centralization of economic and political control. And so obviously the forces of control, the state police, the Liquor Control Commission, they want more money, they want more control. It's our job as citizens to not let them have it, and if they've got it, to take it back. And that's what we're trying to do here. And I agree. The way to do that is through lobbying our legislature and putting forward initiatives in the petition drives that change those laws for the better.
Also, one side note: that guy that was in the Oregonian recently, they reported they had a whole spread on Colorado and all that stuff, and they had this like the guy that jumped off, committed suicide and so on.
Yeah, that's the sad story. The
mention,
poor guy. Who knows if he jumped off or he fell?
Well,
but
what
it's
they
just
failed
a
to mention
distraction.
He may have already been on pharmaceutical antidepressants.
Yeah, how many
they
people
don't mention
kill
that
themselves
part
over
of it.
those every day?
You know what I mean?
Fighting
Yeah.
for them.
So they just say,
we need to
he
make
had some
cannabis
cannabis. Okay,
cheap
so
and
that was the cause of
plentiful,
everything.
and wipe out the black market because it's so cheap and plentiful.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been working for, and it sounds like you're in favor of that too. Thanks for watching. Thanks for
Thank
your
you.
call.
Bye.
We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Oh, yes. Hey, you hear me? Hello?
Just barely. Turn that up in the studio some more.
Hello?
Hey, I can hear you. Just speak up a little bit.
Okay. Yes, earlier in this week, the Senate confirmed Loretta Lynch as the new Attorney General.
Yeah.
Do you know her position on marijuana?
We read an extensive story about her. Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh, do you know her position on marijuana?
She testified to Congress that she thought that marijuana was more dangerous than alcohol. So it's our job to educate her. I can only hope that she realizes that that's not true and that she said that so she could be confirmed by the United States Congress. Because if she had said the opposite, she might not have been confirmed. However, she did state that she opposes marijuana legalization during her confirmation hearings, which happened about half a year ago almost.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
If she believes that, then I think Loretta Lynch is more dangerous than alcohol.
Good point. We have another caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I'm wondering. I've heard that marijuana has benefits to breast cancer, and I'm third generation, and I had it when I was very young. And I'm wondering if you could just talk about that a little bit.
Well, cannabis and cannabinoids, the chemicals that are unique to cannabis, have been found to kill cancer cells. I think there are about 14 different kinds of breast cancer, and there are bunches of different kinds of each types of cancer out there. It doesn't work for everyone, but a high concentration of cannabis will help most cancer patients. It helps with the nausea, but it actually also kills the cancer cells. Cannabis is a powerful antioxidant, and that suppresses cannabis cells. All of our bodies, all the time, generate cancer cells, and it's our immune system that normally finds them and kills them. However, some cancer cells have the ability to not become detected by the immune system, or to grow so fast they overcome the immune system. Cannabis has been shown to cause cell death of cancer cells, many forms of cancer. And there needs, of course, to be more research about that. A lot of it's been taking place in other countries because the United States government has not allowed it to happen here. We've ceded our scientific prowess to other countries because of our lack of spending on this, and that's the situation.
Okay, great. I'm third generation, and
You mean you've had cancer,
I'm
your mother
15
had
years in
cancer, breast
remission.
cancer, and your grandmother
So-
had breast cancer. That's what you mean, right?
What?
When you say you're third generation, you mean third generation of women in your family to have breast cancer?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I just had maternal tests to see if it's the maternal gene that's being passed on.
Yeah, there's
And
the
they're
BRCA
testing
gene that
17 different genes to see what's going on.
they haven't, they're still studying the genome, and there's still more for them to learn, for science to learn, but that's growing exponentially, and they hopefully will crack the code against cancer in the very near future. I think that's happening, and
Yeah, that
hopefully
sounds
it'll be a lot better
wonderful.
for your daughter and all of our daughters in years to come.
Yeah.
Because my wife is
well,
a breast
I'm
cancer
15
survivor.
years in remission, so I'm doing good.
My wife had breast cancer, underwent chemotherapy and surgery, and her mother died from breast cancer. Both her mother and aunt got it at the age of 33, and then my wife got it at the age of 33. That was a little bit over 10 years ago, and of course I hope they crack it because I have a daughter too.
Yes.
So hang in there.
Yes, I hope they do too, for your sake and all our sake.
Yeah, and all our children.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Well, with the amazing success cannabis has had on breast cancer, maybe our members of Congress should smoke it. It might help those boobs.
I think marijuana is good for you. So not everyone should smoke marijuana. Some people shouldn't smoke marijuana, but I think most people should. And smoking may be not the way to go. Maybe, just taking a small dose orally, even where you don't get high, has been shown to protect your brain during traumatic events such as stroke or trauma. And but I like high doses of cannabinoid at least once or twice a week.
I know I had to smoke it when George W. won the second time. That helped me through that trauma.
Yeah. My friend Jorge Cervantes left the country for 9 years.
That helped him.
When George W. Bush was elected. We have a Cannabis Common Sense exclusive, our State of Shame video.
Wait a minute.
We
You
start
didn't
out.
catch me out on the street last week.
No, this is the State of Shame video. The sounds you'll hear are from the movie Reefer Madness. So watch this video.
All right.
We must work untiringly so that our children are obliged to learn the truth, because it is only through knowledge that we can safely protect them. Failing this, the next tragedy may be that of your daughter, or your son, or yours, or yours, or yours.
I'm just getting home, and there are officers all over my porch. And an officer just went in my backyard. Can I ask what this is about?
Yes, you want to come on up here and talk to us?
What are you doing in my backyard? Do you have a warrant?
The reason why we're here is we got a call from Department of Children and Families that we need to speak with you about.
Okay.
Will you give us consent to search your home?
No. You do not have consent to search my home.
Okay.
Tell me what this is about, please.
I'm Rebecca from DCF. This is Juan from DCF. Here's a pamphlet explaining your rights. We got a report.
Is my son at school?
Yes.
Can you tell me what this is in regards to?
Well, we had a report that was turned into Children and Families about the well-being of your son, okay, and about drug use in the home.
The well-being of my son?
Yes.
Both of my children are fine.
Okay. Well, that's why we're here checking.
Okay.
When we get a report, we have to investigate it and see if your child is safe.
Wow, there's another officer came out of my backyard. I don't know why that there are officers in my backyard without a warrant. Someone explain that to me.
Okay. We have a right to be where the public has a right to be.
The public is not allowed in my backyard.
Well, here's the thing. It's open field, okay?
It is
And
not. It's a
we
fenced
are
yard.
making sure that nobody is entering your residence.
Also, Winter.
Winter, and your name also?
Officer Martinez.
Martinez, you were both in my backyard without a warrant.
We weren't in your backyard.
I just saw you in my backyard.
That's your driveway.
Yeah.
And you're videoing me?
I am absolutely videoing you.
Okay. You're not free to go in the house until we get a search warrant. And once we get the search warrant, you are free to leave at this point. But we're securing the house. We're going to get a search warrant.
How is this legal?
Well,
You can't let me in my own home without
That's
a
right.
search warrant.
Right. We are going to secure it because we believe that there's evidence inside that house, specifically marijuana. All right. And once we get that and then we're completed,
Based on what?
doesn't matter. So, if you want to hang out here, or you want to leave, I don't care at this point, but you cannot go in the house.
It is my home.
It doesn't matter. There's evidence in there that you could destroy. So everything that was in the house is being secured at this point for a search warrant.
They are barricading me to where I can't go into my home and not allowing me in. I have a diabetic on my porch with medicine on my kitchen table.
Okay. Do they need EMS? You're not going in there, so you can scratch that. So if you would like us to go inside and get that medication,
You're
we'd
not
wanna-
going in my house
Okay,
without
then,
a warrant.
Then if she has a problem, then we can call EMS.
Wow.
Okay. You're not going to go in there.
Wow. Really very apparent private property. I guess growing a garden. No, you are not allowed on my property, sir. You do not have a warrant. You do not have a warrant to be in my yard. This is not public property.
A Garden City mother was in court today trying to regain custody of her 11-year-old son nearly a month after police say they found more than a pound of marijuana in her home. She says she's a medical marijuana activist and her son was never in danger. But the fact remains the drug is illegal in Kansas. This morning there was a lot of support for the mother outside her court hearing. KSN's Lindsay Cobb spoke with the mom new at 5.
I regret nothing. Shauna Banda says she's used cannabis oil since 2009 to treat her Crohn's disease. The mother swears by the medical benefits of the drug, and Monday, nearly 50 people came out to rally for her and support medical marijuana.
Cannabis is the most non-toxic substance on the planet. My home was much more dangerous with pharmaceuticals prescribed to me from doctors.
But her fight as a proponent of legal medical marijuana took a turn when her son talked about marijuana while at school.
We asked for consent to search to go in and just to make sure it was a safe environment and make sure there was nothing illegal. She denied that consent
Police say a search warrant led to more than a pound of marijuana in the home, along with drug paraphernalia. The boy was put in DCF protective custody. Banda insists she never put her 11-year-old son in danger.
Because she was given a gag order, we still don't know if Banda will lose custody of her son. But the Garden City Police Department tells me that after Monday's hearing, the boy remains in protective care.
DCF says about 19% of home removals are because of drug use. And while loss of custody is up to the judge, they work to reconnect families. But Banda says she'll continue fighting for both her son and medical drug use.
I feel like I've been able to be a better mother now, and I have a better quality of life. And I shouldn't have my child taken away because his mother can actually do things with him now. It's wrong.
In Garden City, Lindsay Kopp, KSN News.
We should note that Banda has not yet been charged with a crime. That's up to the county attorney.
Well, there. Stand with Shona. She's protecting her rights and thereby protecting all of our rights. It's a shame she's subjected to that harassment in her home state of Kansas, but that too shall change. You know, we have another video. We're all going to be out there marching in almost 300 cities around the world, from New York to Buenos Aires to right here in River City, Portland. We'll be at Pioneer Courthouse Square.
When?
At noon. You want to be, the march starts at noon, so you want to be there a little before noon. We'll have a full day of music and fun at Pioneer Courthouse Square. Be there about 11:30. The march starts at noon. It's a 1.5-mile march. We have a biodiesel, vegetable oil powered bus. Hopefully we'll have it powered with hemp seed oil sometime soon. And we will have it right here in Portland, check around the country and around the world. They had last year in Buenos Aires, Argentina, 150,000 people marching through the streets of Buenos Aires. In Santiago, Chile, they broke the record with 175,000 people marching right through the national capital of Santiago, Chile. So our hats are off to them. We need you to come down. And we have a little video about the Cannabis March right now. So we'll be right back.
There is a peaceful solution called the peace revolution. And now let's take back America. There was a dream, so believe it. Now get ready to receive it. And we'll take back America. There is a war and we're in it, but I know we can win it. Let's just take back America. And when the war is over and we won it, let's remember how we done it so we don't have to do it again. There's a peaceful solution called the peace revolution. Now let's take back America. revolution. Now let's take back America. There was a dream, so believe it. Now get ready to receive it. And we'll take back America. And when the war is over and we won it, let's remember how we done it so we don't have to do it again. There is a peaceful solution called the peace revolution. And now let's take back America. And now let's take back America. Now let's take back America.
All right, we've got to thank Mr. Willie Nelson for making that song a public one. If you haven't seen Willie and Merle Haggard's new song out there, It's All Going to Pot. He released it on 4/20. So check out our website. We link to it, or just search for Willie and Merle. It's All Going to Pot. It's a great song. And so the march is next Saturday, May 9th, Pioneer Courthouse Square. Be there at 11:30. The march starts at noon. It's about a mile and a half. If you're not able to do it, then we have the Cool Bus powered by biodiesel there. If you're interested in getting medical marijuana permit, give us a call at 1-800-723-0188. We can help you with medical marijuana permits anywhere in the United States.
May 2nd.
It's May 2nd.
May 2nd.
The march is May 2nd,
May 2nd.
at noon.
At noon.
Not this Saturday, but
No.
next Saturday
Yeah.
as we're taping this. May 2nd. And so, Casper?
Timeforhemp.com. Tune in. Tell your friends about it. Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Here's Mr. John Cornette. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp.
We are many, we are strong, and so many be so wrong, giving in